Cover 2 podcast coming at you straight from the Radio Labs of Satellite by College. We are not live today, a rare recorded session of the Cover 2 pod. Yeah, exactly. So me and Jared are packed into a small studio recording the show today, but that's not going to change anything. We're going to have a very similar show that we normally do. Today we're going to be talking about the NBA All-Star Game. That ended up being a pretty good game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to be talking about some of the big free agent signings and rule changes in the MLB, as well as explain to you guys some of the nuances of the NFL offseason. But let's start with the NBA All-Star Game. It was this past weekend. All-Star Saturday night, of course, with the dunk contest and the three-point contest and all that, but then it all culminates to the actual All-Star Game. Jerry, I'll let you give your thoughts on the whole weekend and then kind of give your thoughts on the All-Star Game itself.
Yeah, so for the NBA All-Star, the weekend, it's probably my favorite All-Star game to watch as far as the four major sports go. The NFL, I could care less about the Pro Bowl.
No, Pro Bowl
care
sucks.
less.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, they have a very good All-Star game. It's obviously the last few years, the winner of the All-Star game or that league basically got home field advantage.
So it actually mattered.
It did matter, and they finally changed it back to the old way of now it's just an exhibition game, which I am in favor of. But that is probably my second favorite All-Star game. I would have to say the NBA is probably my favorite, just because it's out of the excitement of the up and down. You literally have not only the best basketball players in the world, but they're all on one court, and it's like they're all used to having the ball in their hands with their teams. So the fact that they have to find a way to come together and share the ball and that type of thing is to me really, really fun to watch. All the alley-oops and the behind-the-back passes and the 3-point shots from basically half court, all that stuff. They try to bring some excitement for the fans. So it was very exciting to watch. And obviously with the new format this year of having LeBron and Steph Curry pick teams and there's no more East versus West, I think it really benefited the All-Star Game in almost every capacity. The ratings actually, the television ratings I saw were actually a little bit down from last year.
Interesting.
But all the social media ratings were up. So I think more of our generation, the younger generation, were watching, which is, I think, what the NBA was leaning towards.
Yeah.
So they succeeded in that aspect. And it was just more of a competitive game. I mean, it was still a high-scoring game, obviously, 148 to 145. But you actually saw guys playing defense. I mean, you saw LeBron James in timeouts in the huddle, like, yelling and telling guys, hey, man, like, you saw assistant coaches like literally getting up off their seats and in a defensive position, telling their guys to play defense. At the end of the game, when LeBron James won the MVP and he was giving his speech, like his voice was hoarse.
Yeah,
because he was actually yelling during the game. So you could tell that it was a much more competitive game than in past years. And I think the NBA is on to something with this with this format and the way that they're doing that. And hopefully next year it can be televised. I know LeBron James and Steph.
Talking about the draft, right?
The draft. I'm sorry. They both wanted the draft to be televised this year. It wasn't, unfortunately, but NBA commissioner came out and said that more than likely it will be televised for next year. So, I think they're on to something, and I was definitely pleased with the way that this All-Star game went.
I was very pleased with this All-Star game. I thought that the way they played the game was they played hard enough for an All-Star game. Obviously, there's going to be things in an All-Star game where you're not going to play 100%, as hard as you can because you don't want to get hurt. It's an expedition game.
Right.
It doesn't matter as much. But, yeah, no, I really like the new format. And with them choosing teams, there was a little more of a, I actually kind of want to win this game. I don't want to lose the team. They added charity to it, which added to it. And especially like that last 2 minutes, man, that was legitimate basketball right there. That was Team LeBron. Team LeBron actually did seem like they wanted to win a little more the whole game. But other than that, it was a solid game. And I was going to say something, but I can't remember what I was going to say. So I'll just move on to the fact that I think this is going to be good for the NBA because it was the one kind of problem where everyone was saying, well, okay, we have this big All-Star game, and it is the best players in the world. And basketball specifically, their stars are really even more stars than any other sports because there's so little players that play in the NBA. When you're a star player, you're one of few. Sorry, I'm battling the flu, so I might cough a little bit. But the the stars in the NBA are legitimate stars. So when you get them all on the court at the same time, you want to see them play at their best. You want to see Steph shooting threes, trying to dribble guys out. You want to see LeBron James banging in the post. You want to see Antetokounmpo using his skills to get around people. So I really liked the way the game was, and they played solid defense. And even the score being 148 to 145, I've seen some NBA games this year at 130 to 120. So that's not that much. When you got the best players in the world, you're going to score 150, you're going to score 140 points. So that wasn't a big deal to me at all. But it was great to see the score not almost be in the 200s like it was last year. And it was great. Everything besides the national anthem was awesome at the All-Star game.
Ooh, I was waiting to see if you're going to bring that up.
You know I had to say it, at least.
Yeah.
You know I had to bring it up.
Oh, Fergie. Roasted, by the way.
Absolutely
roasted.
Well, it was terrible, Jared. And when people do things that suck, they need to be called out for it.
Yeah, I mean, you have Draymond Green, Klay Thompson.
Everybody was laughing.
Everyone is kind of chuckling, and yeah, I've kind of felt bad for her. But you know what? She came out and admitted that it wasn't the best performance. Yeah. Luckily, the All-Star game was great, so it saved her crappy performance. Right. So we can, I guess, let her slide for that. But I guarantee she probably won't be doing any more appearances for a little while. I think she might. She might lay low. Let this one.
Not anymore. National anthems.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
When the Stanley Cup Finals or the NBA Finals comes up, I don't think Fergie's going to be first on the list to be called.
No, you don't think so?
No.
Okay.
Even opening day baseball, even the cricket finals, nothing.
Sorry, Fergie. Sorry.
Fergie. Hey, well, Fergie,
yeah.
you
know. We still like you, but
exactly.
Let's lay low for a little bit. Yeah. Get that voice back.
Let's reform the Black Eyed Peas. Let's get 3 other people around that voice too.
Oh my God.
No, but that was interesting. I also didn't necessarily like the very beginning of the All-Star, that whole Kevin Hart skit that went on. That was a little hokey. I don't know why Jamie Foxx came out in cowboy clothes either. Didn't make a lot of sense.
They were in L.A. I mean,
they were in L.A., but like some of the those weren't like the biggest stars in the world that came out either to do that thing. I was thinking maybe we're gonna see like a Denzel, or maybe a.
Oh, so she's trying to say Jamie Foxx isn't a huge star?
No, I'm trying to say Adam Devine isn't a huge star. I'm surprised he was. It seems like Rob Riggle was involved in anything sports.
Yeah, basically.
He got away from Fox for once to do something, but no. But like we're saying, the All-Star game was so good that we forgot. That I didn't forget, but most people forgot that the Kevin Hart skit was interesting and that Fergie's national anthem was, on Roseanne Barr status. Last Sunday. Sorry for
just killing.
I don't know why I got to roast
just
Fergie.
Just killing her.
I actually like Fergie. I like Fergie.
I was gonna say I love Fergie. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Fergie. Don't
Black
listen.
Eyed Peas
don't
for
listen
life,
to the beginning.
man.
Oh my gosh.
No, so the All-Star game was great. Anything you wanted to add as far as for the game?
You like we were saying right before the podcast, you put it out on Twitter. You said LeBron James was going to win MVP, and he did.
You want to give
congratulations?
Thank you, Jay, so much for that. I correctly predicted 2 minutes before tip-off that LeBron was going to win MVP. And the reason I said that is because I thought he would care about the game, and it's exactly what he did. The whole game he had his game face on. There wasn't any of that smiling. Like you saw a lot of smiling with Steph and his other players, and that's okay too. It's All-Star game, like I said, but LeBron wanted to win, and so I thought that was why he won the MVP, and he didn't win the MVP. So call me Nostradamus or whatever you want to call me, but I got it right.
Hey, what do you think about on the sidelines, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving laughing? I mean, having a good time. Was that for real? Was that for show?
I don't personally think there's that much heat between Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. I think LeBron James now realizes that what Kyrie did was the right thing to do. I mean, LeBron just traded away, and I mean LeBron just traded away like half his team. So what does that tell you? He wasn't satisfied with the team. So you can't be that mad at Kyrie for leaving. Kyrie's in a better situation now. So I don't think there's actual beef. I was more surprised to see a video of Durant and Russell Westbrook laughing with each other. I still think there's way more beef with them than there is Kyrie and LeBron. But I don't know. I just don't see it with Kyrie and Bron. I don't think there's that much beef. Do you think there's something there?
No, I don't think it's as much as the media is trying to portray. But I do think, that was them, James and Irving, sitting on the sidelines talking and laughing. I think that does mean something. I think that they've either finally been able to kind of hash whatever beef they did have, or you know what, they were all just in the moment and They're all having a good time together. So hopefully they have hashed it because at the end of the day, you want to see good competitive basketball. You don't want to see any bad blood between players. And I'm really, really, really hoping for a Cleveland and Celtics
of course
playoff matchup. I would love to see that. So I want these guys to go head to head, and play basketball on the court, not have a little side grudge or anything like that. So hopefully they have gotten over it. I do agree. I think that Kevin Durant and Westbrook, even though they may be cordial with each other, I still don't think that relationship is fully healed, nor do I think it will ever heal. I think the way that Kevin Durant left is still, sitting not sitting well with Westbrook. And I basically think it's on Westbrook to do something about it because the way that Kevin Durant is going right now, he won an NBA championship. He's with Golden State doing his own thing now. And I don't think he really cares about Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if that relationship wants to heal, I think it's going to have to be because Russell Westbrook steps up and says something. Other than that, another matchup that I want to see. I want to see Cleveland and Boston in the East.
Yeah.
And I want to see Oklahoma and the Warriors in the West.
It could happen.
I would love to see those matchups. I want to see these
yeah.
former teammates go at it and duke it out.
They didn't go at it last year in the playoffs, did they?
I don't believe so.
No, but their regular season matchups were awesome.
Yes, they were.
They were awesome.
Yeah, so I would love to see a 7-game series.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, we got to hope that, because Golden State's going to get number 1 seed, that Oklahoma City is the 2nd seed, because I want to see them play Houston as well.
Oh, listen, Houston right now, they're not – I don't want to say that they're underrated because they're not, but – I just don't feel like a lot of people are talking about
Everybody's
Houston.
kind of underrated with the Warriors being who they are, though.
But yeah, and it's because because of the whole trade deadline, because Cleveland traded half their team, like you mentioned, and the Rockets didn't really do much during the trade deadline. So no, listen, I don't want to play. If I was an NBA team, I wouldn't want to play the Rockets in the playoffs.
I wouldn't want to play any of those
teams
we just
Chris
mentioned.
Paul and James Harden healthy. No, I don't think so. Have
they lost with both those guys in the court yet?
I don't think so. I know they went 14-0 to begin the year when they were both healthy in the lineup, and then throughout the season they've both kind of been banged up. But yeah, when they're both healthy, they're scary, man. So they could. I don't want to say easily, but the Rockets would beat the Thunder in a 7-game series. I don't have any doubts about that. A Rockets-Warriors matchup, 7-game series, that would be a little interesting. That I think the Warriors would have a tough time with Chris Paul and James Harden. I know we're getting kind of a little ahead of ourselves right now.
Yeah.
But no, that would be a very interesting matchup that I would love to see. I'm excited for these playoffs this year.
Yeah,
I think
the NBA players
at least in the West. The East is still, there's a couple good matchups, but the West, I feel like 1 through 8. I mean, all those teams are very competitive.
Well, I think the cool thing this year is that the Rockets kind of stepped up to the Warriors level in a way to where people actually think, oh, the Rockets actually might be able to beat them. Like last year, nobody was beating Golden State. And the Thunder, I don't necessarily think I'd pick them really at any point to beat the Warriors in a 7-game series, but they're still a very good team with 3 stars. But even the East, there's 3 teams that I think could make the finals too. So it's an interesting year. Something else I want to talk about, too, is talk about beefs. Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on with that?
You know what? I don't think that's anything. I think that was all for show, for play. I think Joel Embiid is trying to make more of a name for himself, get his name, more in the spotlight. Obviously, he plays for the Sixers, so they don't really get as much national recognition as some of these other West Coast teams and better teams do. And the Sixers they don't have that good of a record this year. They're a very young and up-and-coming team and, trust the process and all that stuff. But no, listen, Embiid hopefully he can stay healthy because he will be one of the faces of the NBA in the next couple of years. So, he's not going away anytime soon. But I think he was just trying to, kind of something for the fans to talk about, something for the media to talk about. He's not shy at all. He has no problem saying what's on his mind.
Oh, no way,
whether he's talking about something basketball related or talking about Rihanna, doesn't matter. So that's much to do with nothing for me.
Yeah, it's so funny. Westbrook gets so he gets so like triggered so easily.
Yeah.
by
Oh,
stuff.
he short temper.
Yeah, it's like you saw him. Embiid shot that three, and you immediately saw, oh, here goes Westbrook. He's gonna get mad and he's gonna like go at it. It's like a little kid, you know. But that's what makes Westbrook great is that he does that kind of stuff and he creates those little rivalries between players and stuff. But that's the reason why I want to see him get deep in the playoffs. But they didn't get deep last year. But so let's move on to kind of end the segment. Saturday night. Anything jump out at you from All-Star Saturday Night, dunk contest, all that, 3-point contest?
It was. I think nothing really surprised me.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing that was really cool was the tribute that Larry Nance Jr. did with his dad. How he brought out the old school
that
jersey.
dunk was exactly like his
Oh
dad's.
no, they did a
exactly the
side by
same,
side play, and it was literally the same thing. So
Same thing.
that was one of the things that I took away from that night. Kind of the cool tributes that they did. Bringing out the Vince Carter, the old jersey number 15, the old school Raptors jersey. So it wasn't necessarily about the players or who won. It was the cool tributes and the way they were kind of respecting and showing their respect for the old timers of the game. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I thought it was kind of a pedestrian Saturday night. Like the skills competition, it's too short. They need to make like more obstacles in that thing.
Make it a little more
Yeah,
difficult.
it's like anybody could. I could go do that and beat Joel. Like it's not that hard, you know. And I'm not a basketball player, but that was normal. The 3-point contest. There's so many good guys that it's kind of all the same thing. Like you don't really care who wins. And then of course dunk contest was good, but man, I'm still reeling off that Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon one like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We need to get those two guys back in because they put. I watched the video, like on Monday, the highlights from their dunk contest, and I'd say about 14 of their dunks in that dunk contest were better than anything we saw.
Yeah.
And they were like first round dunks for that.
But it's like at a certain point, like almost every dunk has been done. Like what can't. What I mean, it's tough
just
to come
the
up with a different dunk.
athleticism kind of just needs to improve, I guess.
Oh, so you're saying these guys need to become more athletic?
Yes,
because they're not athletic enough.
NBA players aren't athletic
apparently,
enough.
no, seriously, it's like what
kidding,
other
that's
dunk
not.
can you come up with and can you create? I feel like almost everything has been done. You know what I mean? Whether you try to raise the rim from 10 feet to 12 feet, or you try. I mean, you try to jump over a person. Like I know Kevin Hart and his son got brought out, and they got jumped. It's like there's only so many things you can do. I feel like now it's about like the different props and the creativity that you can do. It's like I think there's every type of dunk has been tried almost. So I think it's really just about the creativity and what you can do to kind of wow the crowd other than just the dunk. So I think it's just every year it's getting tougher and tougher to come up with the actual new dunk. I think some things are starting to get replicated now, like Jordan's dunk from the free throw line. Not to say that would give someone the win, the dunk championship, but it's just you're trying to replicate things now. I don't think you can. There's not too many dunks that are brand new that people haven't seen before.
Yeah, no, it's you're right about that. I'm waiting for someone to jump from the 3-point line. That's gonna be nuts. But no, I just think my whole thing, and obviously it has to do with them being healthy, because Aaron Gordon was actually supposed to be in the dunk contest this year, and was not just due to injury, and LaVine as well. But man, if those two guys can get healthy, or if we can get LeBron James in the damn thing, let's do that. As he said he was going to do it, and I don't see the reason why he doesn't do it.
I don't know if LeBron is how old now?
34, but he plays like he's like 28.
You think he can still? You think he still got the hops like when he was in his 20s?
No, I'm just saying. I think people just want to watch LeBron.
Well, I think of course people want to see him in there. My only thing is now he's no. I mean, listen, LeBron's still one of the best players in the league, but he ain't no spring chicken no more. Like I don't know if he's got the same hops that he did when he was 24, 25. So yes, I would definitely watch, but I don't know if I would have the same expectations. I don't know if he could still hang in the air and do something spectacular like we would all expect. So I think at this point, it's almost a safer bet that LeBron doesn't do the dunk contest, because I don't think he would want to ruin have a bad outing or ruin his reputation to a degree by not putting on the best performance possible. Because LeBron, anytime he steps out on the court, he wants to he's trying to be great, and I don't necessarily know if him joining the dunk contest would be the best thing for him. So I would probably stay away from that.
I think it would add to the allure when you hear, oh, LeBron's going to be in the dunk contest. Oh man, Gordon and Levine are in it too. Holy crap! But that's the way it used to be. The stars used to be in it. Not that Gordon and Levine are stars in the league, but they're so good. Everyone knows them as the dunk contest guys. So you get those guys, and maybe just add more stars. That I think could improve the All-Star game or the slam dunk contest as well. Just get more names in there. I remember last year they had like Derrick Jones Jr., who was like an NBA D-League player. It's like,
right.
Come on, what are we doing? Even a lot of the guys in it this year necessarily weren't known. If you don't watch the Lakers, you don't really know who Larry Nance Jr. is. And if you don't watch the Utah Jazz, like many people, you don't know who Donovan Mitchell is.
Man, that was a shot.
Yeah, it needs to happen. I'm on a roll today with the Fergie stuff.
I guess when you get sick, you just start jabbing
exactly.
people.
I just don't care anymore.
All right.
I might die tomorrow. It's whatever. And it's just what happens. But okay, so that's the end of the NBA All-Star Game segment. We're going to take a break, not on OC Rock Radio, but we're just going to take a break. And you're going to listen to a couple sound bites here. And on the other side of this break, though, we're going to be talking about the MLB rule changes, some pace of play stuff, and some big free agent signings to some All-Stars from the Boston Red Sox and San Diego Padres. We'll be right back on the Cover 2 podcast.
And this is the problem in baseball when there is no clock, is that players are allowed to operate on their time, and that's the problem. That is inherently the problem. If you go back to 1978 and you watch Ron Guidry pitch, Guidry gets the ball and pitches right again. He gets the ball and pitches again. There is no hemming and hawing over what pitch, where to throw it, what zone, what's the tendency of the hitter, this and that.
Eric Hosmer has a new home. According to multiple reports, the former Kansas City Royal has agreed to a deal with the San Diego Padres. The deal is reportedly an 8-year contract with an opt-out clause after the 5th season.
All right, Tim Kirkjian, how did this deal finally come together?
Well, it came together because Scott Boras, the agent, and the Red Sox got creative. As you said, 5 years, $110 million, but there are 2 opt-outs in this contract. And like the Eric Hosmer deal of the other night, it is front-loaded. So Martinez is going to get $50 million over the first 2 years of this contract.
Cover 2 podcast back with our second segment of the show. Once again, I'm Jared Smith.
And I'm Nick Neenan.
And this segment, we've got some baseball talk going on with spring training starting last week. We have a couple rule changes that the MLB is implementing for this upcoming season, ways to kind of make the play of the game faster, and things that they think will help the overall play of the game. But we want to start with 2 signings that happened this past weekend, 2 major signings, one in the AL, one in the NL. Nick, I'm going to let you take over and explain those big signings.
Yeah, we finally got some big free agents signing with some teams. One not so surprising and one, pretty surprising. And so I'll start with JD Martinez, who signed with the Boston Red Sox. And I'll talk about Eric Hosmer, who signed with the San Diego Padres a little bit later. JD Martinez signs a 5-year, believe it was $110 million deal. So not what you'd necessarily think a star of Martinez's caliber would get when you've seen guys get bigger contracts. If you look at it throughout a 5-year span, that's about $22 million, if I'm not mistaken on my math there. $22 million a year. I think a lot of people thought maybe some guys would get some $30 million. But the way they loaded the contracts up, the way they did it was they made it so in the beginning of the contract, JD Martinez is going to get more. So
he has front loaded.
Well, yeah, and then he has an opt-out after 3 years.
Oh, he does.
So realistically, he has a 3-year contract, and let's say he's bad after that 3rd year, he'll come back, but he'll play for less money for the Red Sox. Or you go to the free agent market and try to go to the market again like he did this year. So it gives them an out, and it also gives the team an out. Well, in a way, they still get to keep a guy, but they pay him less once after that opt-out. So, solid deal. JD Martinez had been talked about going to the Red Sox for most of the offseason, so it wasn't super surprising that he got this type of contract. But the Red Sox got a really, really good outfielder. They're not going to trade Jackie Bradley Jr., which is kind of surprising. So they're going to have a lot of outfielders. Reminds me a lot of the Dodgers. And they're going to be very good. So, Jared, what's your thoughts?
Quick question. Yeah. I want to ask you this because I know you're more of the MLB guru than I am. Do you think the Red Sox did this primarily because they were trying to bolster their own team, their own hitting? Or do you think with the Yankees signing Stanton, do you think that had anything to do with it? Like, okay, obviously the Yankees are our biggest rivalry, and they just made a major splash, right? Biggest splash you can make in free agency. So we have to now some way combat that and try to sign our own big name free agent to bring more power and more hitting to our team. Do you think there was some type of silver lining there? Or
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do think that you see Giancarlo Stanton go to your division rival, a team that was made to the championship series, made it further than the Red Sox last year. They signed Giancarlo Stanton. The Red Sox had to do something here. They had to add some hitting. And they were the worst team in the MLB as far as home runs went last year. They had the worst or the least amount of home runs. So they needed to improve their home run total. And JD Martinez is a home run hitter. It's a 40 home run guy. So absolutely, I think it had to do with that. I also think it had to do with fixing a need. But when you see the Yankees add a guy like that, you had to do something. And it was good for the Red Sox. It's a good deal. Like I said, it works for both parties. And I think it's going to be solid. Now, moving on to Hosmer. Hosmer signs with the San Diego Padres. Now, a lot of people are probably saying, why the hell would he sign with San Diego Padres? They're not contending at all. Why would he go to a team? Why would he go from a team like Kansas City that was in the World Series a couple years ago to a team in San Diego that is not going to be in the World Series soon? And I think number one, he wasn't going to get paid in Kansas City, so there was no way he was going to go back there. But number two, San Diego wants to change the culture. And they wanted to add a legitimate star. They didn't have a star. Will Myers is a great player, but he wasn't a star. Eric Hosmer is a name in the business, a name in baseball. And a lot like JD Martinez, he signs an 8-year deal, but a lot like JD Martinez, his deal is also front-loaded with a 5-year opt-out. So realistically, Eric Hosmer signs a 5-year contract. And if he sucks after that 5th year, or just thinks, I really want to play for this team, he'll earn less money, but he'll stick with the team. So I like both deals for both the team and the player. And the San Diego Padres obviously not going to be contending much, but it does create a different locker room for them. It was all rookies and guys that were kind of just trying to find themselves in the league the last couple of years. Now they add a legitimate star. And they'll improve for sure. They don't have really a chance this year, but they'll definitely improve. I like both these deals.
Which deal would you say is? I mean, do you think the Red Sox like that deal?
Well, Red Sox,
because they're more contenders. Do you think
obviously, yeah. No, I think the Red Sox kind of needed to make that move, and they did. So good on them. And they now have an outfield of JD Martinez, Mookie Betts, and Andrew Benintendi. That's one of the best in the league right there. So, like you mentioned, they needed to contend with the Yankees, and they did with JD Martinez.
Yeah, no, they did. Definitely two big signings, coming at the beginning of spring training. I'm sorry. And if I'm not mistaken, I know right now it's still just pitchers and catchers.
No, they just reported.
Everyone just reported?
I believe Monday or yesterday.
Okay,
remember.
So now we have full rosters there for spring training. And I believe, is it this weekend or next week that we've got some games starting?
Yes, and the reason I can answer that correctly is because I originally thought I was going on a trip to spring training next weekend. I'm actually going this weekend, so I'm actually going.
Okay.
We're going out from one of my cousin's birthdays, but
so Nick will be there.
We're gonna catch a spring training game on Sunday afternoon. We're gonna go to Giants in Scottsdale. So yes, there is a game because I'm going to one. So it's gonna be it'll be fun. I don't know how good the crowd will be, but there's definitely games because I'm going to one. So
there will be games. Nick is confirming that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We also wanted to jump into a little bit of news with the MLB as far as rule changes.
Yeah, this is big.
And yeah, this is very, very big. Major League Baseball, I guess the one downfall that I think a lot of fans and even people, if you don't necessarily watch baseball regularly, one of the reasons why people don't necessarily get involved with the sport is potentially because some people may say it's boring. It's not as much excitement, on a play-by-play basis. So the MLB has tried to kind of change their old school way of playing to, in a sense, make the game more fun to watch. And for myself, even, I love going to sporting events. So when I will go to almost any baseball game because it's a sporting event, and I love doing that. But I have to admit that sometimes watching games on TV can be boring. I mean, watching a 1-0 game, a pitcher's duel, is great if you are, if you're watching a game and it's your team that's playing, right? That's a fantastic game, obviously. Or if you're just a fan of pitching, that's a great game to watch. But if you're just an average fan, or if you like to see hitting, you like to see home runs, and you want the game to go 2 hours instead of 4 hours, then that's not going to be the game for you. So the MLB, like I said, is trying to change things. And one of the new rules that they're implementing is each team will now only get 6 mound visits per game. So what that means is that the managers and or one of the other coaches will only be able to go out and visit the pitchers on the mound 6 times a game. So Nick, I think you can speak to this because you played the sport and I did not. But I think there's certain times within a game, maybe later on in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, that a manager will kind of balk and go out to the mound to stall for a reliever who's still trying to get warm, or he'll go out there to make the other team think that they're going to change. You know what I mean? Like, they're basically trying to stall. And what the MLB is doing now is they're trying to get rid of that in a sense. They don't want managers just going out there whenever they can. So now they're going to be on a mound count, and you have 6, and you can't go over that. So that's one way to speed up the play game. What do you think about this rule?
Yeah, it's an interesting rule. You were reading it earlier in the break about what exactly. So this break rule is. It's not for catchers and pitchers necessarily, or for infielders coming in to talk to pitchers. It's really just for the managers and coaches that come out.
I believe so. So
okay.
This rule does not apply if there's an injury. If there's an injury, then obviously players and or the manager can come out and obviously help that pitcher. If the weather conditions are bad, if it's raining or something like that, then the infielders are allowed to go onto the mound to get the dirt off their cleats. So that does not count. And I believe there was one more. If there was a pinch hitter situation, if a pinch hitter is announced by the batting team, then if the infielders or if the manager wants to come out, that does not count against a mound visit.
Okay.
So there's a few exceptions to this rule, but for the most part, like I said, they're trying to just speed up the tempo of the game and not have it stalled by so many mound visits.
Yeah, there's 2 things that affect baseball a lot are the breaks, obviously, like mound visits, and then multiple pickoffs in games. Not that I'm saying we're going to outlaw the pickoff, but those are the kind of things people complain about a lot. And so it is interesting to me that they're not limiting the catcher coming out to the pitcher as a reason to, but that was, especially in the playoffs and even with the Dodgers, my team, there was too much of that. Whereas like almost every batter late in games, the catcher's coming out to talk. And it would slow down the game. So I'm surprised they didn't change that part of it, because that seems like an easy fix. Just say, hey, catcher, you can only go out there like 4 times. But no, this does limit it, and it, like you said, about when they're wasting time for a pitcher, we don't need any of that. Obviously, Mike Scioscia is actually a very good example of this. He wastes a hell of a lot of time as a manager. Probably one of the reasons they made the rule. But no, I like the pace. I like any of this stuff that makes the game a little faster. I never had a problem when I was pitching with pace of play. I always want to get back on the mound and keep throwing. So I don't understand why these pitchers need so long to do it. I get everyone's different, but deal with it. Now you got to deal with not having as many mound visits. But another thing, I never wanted to see a coach come out and talk to me when I was on the mound. Just let me do my thing. So I like that they're changing these rules. I don't necessarily think there needs to be a pitch clock, but I wouldn't mind it. They obviously didn't change the pitch clock. I think eventually there will be, but I think a pitch clock, all it would do is fix a couple seconds. I don't think it'd be that big of a difference. But I like that. I like that rule as far as the coaches go. I do like that they're limiting some stuff that's unnecessary in the game.
Right. Another rule that I think everybody, no matter if you're a fan of the sport or not, can agree with, is the commercial breaks will be shorter. Thank you, and thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry, but no one likes commercials. No, if you like commercials, then you are weird, and you are probably on a very, very
Jared,
slim...
I'll say this. If you like commercials, you also liked Fergie's national anthem.
Man, you were killing her today.
I'm sorry, man.
Killing her. I wish we were live.
Yeah, this
right
is the one
now.
We need to be live.
I wish we were live, and I wish Fergie was listening.
Maybe it's good that we're not live.
It might be good because, you were just straight roasting her today.
People be calling my phone and stuff.
I thought we were dumb. Fergie, listen, I'm not roasting you. I love you. I'm a big fan. If we ever meet you can just hit Nick. I'll hit Nick for you later on. Don't worry. But yes, going back to the commercial breaks, they will be shorter. Not maybe as short as some people want. There's still going to be commercial breaks. Basically, they are cutting commercials by 20 seconds per break.
It's like a full commercial.
Right, so that's basically almost a full commercial. This was obviously just another way to entice fans to want to watch on TV. With when a commercial comes in and you're sitting for 5 minutes, waiting for an
I don't think it was
change.
ever that long.
No, it seems like 5 minutes.
Change.
Right,
yeah.
A pitching change or something like that, right?
Tell them the rule that about the relievers. The one that kind of shocked me.
There is also.
Here I'll say it. But the
talk to me.
So what they're doing with this is they're making it 2 minutes and 5 seconds or something like that. Yeah. So this is mainly they talk about commercial breaks, but this is for the players to warm up. Players are warming up. If you've never been to a game, which I'd be surprised if you've never been to a baseball game and you listen to our podcast. But if you've never been to a game. During the commercial break, everyone is warming up their arms in the infield, the outfield, and the pitcher's warming up to start the inning. So what they're kind of saying is, hey, you guys don't need that extra 20 seconds to warm up. Just get out there, get ready to play. There's no injuries that are happening because you need that 20 extra seconds. So there you go. But the one interesting one was that even if a reliever comes into the game from the bullpen, this 2 minutes and 5 seconds still goes towards him, which is interesting because it takes a while to get from the bullpen. And some bullpens are further out in the field than others. So there's kind of a disadvantage for some pitchers.
These guys are going to have to start sprinting.
Well, I know, exactly. I know Philadelphia is almost in center field. So that's people walking from center field all the way out with only 2 minutes. So once they get to the mound, they're not going to be able to talk to their coach, their catcher. They got to start throwing because they only got 45 seconds to go. So that was the interesting one. I would have said that pretty much you start the pitch clock when the reliever gets there. But, again, it's improving the pace of the game, which I'm all for. Unless relievers are getting hurt from this. That's the only reason why I wouldn't like this. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I just thought that was interesting specifically because that seems a little unfair to certain teams that have their bullpens way out in the outfield.
Right. And as a part of that as well, pitchers, whether it's a starting pitcher or a reliever coming on the mound, they're allowed to throw as many warm-up pitches as they want. Although, because there is a timer, they're not guaranteed those 8 pitches. So if they lollygag and take their time getting onto the mound,
which again, get on the mound and throw the ball.
They might only have 3 or 4 warm up pitches. So like I said, the umpire is going to be watching that clock, and when it hits triple zeros, he's going to start the game. So if the relievers get out there, if the starting pitchers run out of the dugout and get there, you might be able to throw 10 pitches, right? But if you're a little slower or if you like to take your time, you're only going to get 3 or 4. So really it's going to be on each player. And I'm sure every manager for every team is going to be very cognizant of this and letting their players know, hey, listen, I know you need a little bit longer, so you're going to have to sprint. You're going to have to get out there quicker. Some guys maybe don't. Some guys maybe don't want 8 pitches. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, but some guys maybe are okay with 4 or 5. So if you're okay with that, then take your time. If not, you're going to have to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Those are basically the two that were.
Those are the two main ones.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're not adding the pitch clock
Right.
on every pitch. That was kind of the main thing, that Manfred is not ready to do that yet. So, but those are two rules that will change, that will affect the game, for sure.
Yeah.
But I was going to just say something a second ago, but I
You're-
cannot remember.
You're
Jared.
sick. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
okay. Yeah.
Well,
so
we'll go to break, and when we come back after you hear these sound bites, we're gonna play a game. Jared, you want to tell them what game we're gonna play?
I will say it since you are sick.
Yeah.
It's a little game that we love and we have done for every single
Not cough.
Cover 2 podcast.
Yeah.
Not cough. It's called Do You Care?
There you go, Jared, doing it now this
That's
week.
right. That's right. I got good lungs today. My voice
Very good
is
lungs
nice
for Jared.
and strong.
Well, we're gonna play Do You Care, and we'll do that on the other side of this quick break.
I think our whole game plan coming in was to be the best we possibly can and get better as the tournament goes. And so I think you've seen that as fans, and I know that there's more in us. We feel it.
You know, you look around to the right and the left in the locker room, it's just such a powerful room. I mean, I wish everyone could be in there and see what we see and what we get to experience, but the stakes couldn't be higher, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
ABC Prime Time.
Saturday.
Westbrook the drive and throws it down. Curry left-handed off the glass.
ABC Prime Time.
Left wing Oladipo, nothing but net.
ABC Prime Time Saturday.
Durant to the rim with a right hand.
ABC Prime Time. Prime Time.
Adams up and under, he lays it in beautifully.
ABC Prime Time Saturday night.
This is the matchup everybody wanted to see.
ABC Prime Time. Prime Time Saturday. NBA Saturday night
On ABC.
The Mets, though, are selling their fans on a 30-year-old who managed to run his bat into 8 big flies in 2 levels of A-ball last year, and did it against teenagers and kids in their early 20s when he's a grown-ass man, a 260-pound slab of granite who still takes BP with his hat off, his hair gelled, and didn't completely embarrass himself. So now they've got him on the fast track.
Welcome back to the Cover 2 podcast. If you just listen to those interesting sound bites. And Jared, like you just mentioned before the break, it's time for Do You Care?
There he is. There's the
Time,
voice.
I had enough of it. That's the last time I'm going to yell on this podcast.
He's
Maybe-
back.
Maybe, unless we start talking about LeVar Ball, then maybe I'll yell.
He's back. We ain't
We're
doing
not
that
go-
today.
Which we're not gonna. So if you tuned in to listen to LeVar Ball talk, you can get the hell out of here, because we're not gonna do that. So it is time for Do You Care? And which means Jared's gonna get the first question, since I'm talking out of my mouth right now.
Sir.
So Jared, do you care that Ryan Shazier says he wants to play football again?
I do care, and I would love to see that, and I think everyone would love to see that. Obviously, he had one of the scariest injuries I've ever seen a professional or just any athlete have, going down with that back injury that almost paralyzed him.
Yeah.
Basically, he's very, very lucky that he was not paralyzed, and the road to recovery is very strenuous and very long. I believe 2 weeks ago, his dad came out and said that he just started to walk again. Now, that's obviously with help. I don't know if he's able to walk on his own yet. So whether that's using a walker or whether that's having the help of another person. But the fact that he does have full, feeling in his legs and he's able to start to walk is a big step forward for him. But the fact that he says that he wants to play football again, I think that's very, very optimistic. And like I said, I would love to see that, because I think he's not only an up-and-coming player, but he's just a good guy. If you ask any Pittsburgh Steelers player, they say he's like the heart and soul of that defense. And he was one of their brothers on that team. So I would love to see that, because he is a great player. But I hope first and foremost that he can get his health right, and that he can just walk on his own on a regular basis and do the average everyday things that a normal human being is supposed to and should be able to do. So I hope that can happen one day. When that would happen, who even knows? I don't want to even sit here and speculate on a timetable, because Lord knows I'm not a doctor, and I do not know. But in the next couple of years, if he's able to get back on that football field, that would be a great thing, not only for him, but I think for everyone to be able to see. So hopefully that can happen. Nick, do you care that the Mets general manager says that Tim Tebow is bound for the big leagues?
Yes, I do care, surprisingly. And I care about this because, number one, I actually thought it was a foregone conclusion that he eventually would make the MLB. But number two, what a spectacle that's going to be in the MLB if Tim Tebow actually makes it up there with the Mets. Now, I think the Mets, by signing him in the first place, kind of had to find a way to get him up to the majors. I believe he's no higher than AA right now, though. So I don't think it would happen this year. But good for Tebow, man, sticking with it. I thought this would only be like a 1-year thing, but he keeps going. He's at Mets spring training and he's doing all the normal stuff. And eventually we're gonna have that big Tim Tebow Russell Wilson baseball game. Where both guys are playing. Maybe they can get the Mets and Yankees in camp together and maybe get the game where Russell Wilson plays with them and maybe get him and Tebow on the same field. That'd be cool. But, yeah, it's going to be a crazy spectacle if Tebow actually makes it to an MLB game, and you can assure you that the Mets will make some money off of that one. So I do care, though, because I would want to watch Tim Tebow play in a Major League game and probably strike out 3 times. Jarrett. Do you care that Louisville basketball is in big, big trouble?
Yes, I do care. And expanding on this, Louisville basketball, obviously the last couple of years, has been under major scrutiny by the NCAA, having to basically take multiple fines, loss of scholarships, and this all comes from sexual scandals that the basketball team exclusively supposedly was giving to recruits in order to get them to come to play basketball for Louisville. Obviously, Rick Pitino, Louisville AD, and the head of Louisville Athletics has all come out and basically denied these allegations and said that they have no clue as to any of this. But obviously, something happened, and someone is lying. The NCAA has done their investigations, and they came to the conclusion that this was misconduct, and obviously this should never happen. So Louisville now has to give up their 2013 national championship title. Ouch, that's a big one. They also have to vacate all of their wins, their 123 victories from 2011 to 2015, including their 15 NCAA tournament wins. That is pretty big. That's like, I mean, that's not the death penalty, but that's...
They got Reggie Bushed.
That's pretty damn close. Yeah, but guess what? When you want to cheat to this capacity and, bring prostitutes to your school to, basically persuade these recruits and these athletes to come play for you. Listen, I'm not saying that other programs don't do this. Because I'm not trying to sit here and be naive. I don't condone that, but I'm almost certain that there are other programs who have done this before and probably still do it and have gotten away with it. Louisville just so happened to get caught. They are not the first program to get caught, and they will definitely not be the last program to be caught. I think what the NCAA is trying to do is they're trying to send a strong message to every other program, every other college program, that this will not be tolerated. And if we find that you are doing this, you will get these same types of sanctions, if not worse. So they're putting everyone on notice and making an example out of Louisville. And unfortunately, now Louisville is going to have to pay. So on top of the loss of scholarships and all that other stuff, it's going to be very hard for them to recruit top talent when you don't have as many scholarships. There's potential that they could have more postseason bans. So they are trending in the wrong direction. And yeah, you bring up USC. That's a great point. This team is going to be in the cellar for a while until they can get these scholarships back and until this clears and this storm passes. But for now, this team is in a very dark place and not a program that I would want to be a part of. Nick, do you care, sticking with basketball but going to the professional level, Mark Cuban is a fan of tanking?
No, because what he said was that the best thing for the Mavericks to do this season would be to tank, which I agree with, because they suck. And he probably shouldn't have said that, because it does create, like we talk about Magic Johnson colluding and just kind of saying things about players. Like he'll just say, "Oh, Giannis should not play for the Bucks anymore." Well, Magic Johnson just hasn't realized that he's in a bigger role now, and he can't be saying that kind of stuff. But Mark Cuban coming out and saying that they essentially should tank is, I think, a lot worse of an offense here, because Cuban, I guess maybe I do care a little bit about this, but I'll change it. I actually do care, but yeah, I think Cuban. Let's try to win as many games as possible. Let's you don't want to tank necessarily. You let your team just lose. You don't say you're going to tank, because tanking is just bad in any sport. And I think for him to come out and say that is a pretty bad thing, and maybe Silver has to come in and make a punishment here, because or maybe fine him a little bit for this, because you can't just have the GMs and owners of teams saying, well, I want my team to suck this year, so we're just going to lose but then there's some collusion in there. So you don't want that. I think that might be the first time ever I've actually changed my stance mid-answer.
That was, yeah. You were pretty strong in the beginning about
I was realizing, I'm like, I actually do care about this. It's not, but yeah. So Cuban, he can't be doing that kind of stuff with the Mavericks. Jared, do you care that the Thunders and the
Really?
Thunder and Warriors play this Saturday?
I don't necessarily care. I mean, I'll probably watch it. I'm sure it'll be an interesting matchup. This is kind of piggybacking off of what we talked about in our first segment with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, like we mentioned last year in Kevin Durant's first year with the Warriors. With his first year with the Warriors. It was obviously, a big-time matchup, televised.
Altercations.
Right, yeah. What were Westbrook and Durant going to do? Were they going to come up and shake hands, all that stuff? I think some of that has passed. But, listen, these are still two good teams. The Thunder right now are sitting in the 5th spot. They definitely don't have that locked up, because the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trail Blazers are only one game behind the Thunder. So the Thunder, are going to need to continue to play well in order to stay at that 5th seed. The Warriors, surprisingly, do not have a stranglehold on the Western Conference, because of those Houston Rockets that we also talked about in the first segment are right now sitting in the number 1 spot. So
it all comes full circle.
Right,
guys.
So the Golden State Warriors are sitting in the number 2 spot right now. I still think the Warriors overall are the better team. I think the Warriors will win the game, but I think when you have Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony all on one team, they can definitely be competitive. And I'm sure it'll be a great game, but it's still the regular season. Come back and ask me that question again if these two teams match up in the postseason. I will have a different response for you, Nick. Last question, my man. Nick, do you care that the women's U.S. hockey is in the gold medal game?
Yes, I do. This is going to be a big game. It's actually tonight, Wednesday. So right after you listen to our podcast, tune into that game. They are playing. Let me check who they're playing, but I believe it's Canada. And this is a big matchup because Canada beat them in Sochi for the gold medal, and the U.S. has never won a gold medal in hockey before. So this is a big deal for these women, and it's even a bigger deal for. I was good. Jared, give me the okay. I was just giving analysis on the Canada-USA game. It's actually happening. But so that's a big deal. Obviously, we just want the U.S. to win. To win. There's not much to talk about there. But another thing that goes on, one of the reasons why we want the women to win this gold so bad is because the men screwed up last night and lost to the Czech Republic in a shootout. So the men eliminated in the quarterfinals. They will not even play for a medal this year. Super disappointing on my part because I know the team was kind of built with scraps. I say scraps in the best way possible there, but it was made up of a bunch of rookies and guys that weren't NHL players. So it was going to be tough, but they had the game, and they had a game against Slovenia earlier in the tournament that they lost, and they would have had a better seed. And they wouldn't have been playing back-to-backs. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot with some bad losses, but last night they didn't even score a single goal in the shootout, and disappointed for sure. But it even means more for the women now that the men are eliminated, and this is the last hockey game we're going to see in the Olympics. So go U.S. women, and hopefully they can win that gold and get redemption against those Canadians that seem to beat us every single time in hockey. That's the end of the Do You Care segment. On the other side of this break, we're going to finish off the podcast with a little NFL talk. We got enough news in here to talk about that, so we're going to be going all into franchise tags and all the free agency stuff. So we'll be right back on the Cover 2 podcast with some NFL talk.
The New York Jets are willing to pay a lot of money to Kirk Cousins, maybe more than anyone else, to try to get him to be their franchise quarterback. And they do have an offensive coordinator in Jeremy Bates who would run the similar system to what Kirk Cousins ran in Washington.
Are you close to a deal at all?
I will say we're a lot closer this year at this time than we were last year at this time. And I think for me, them making me feel like a priority, I'm confident. That's why I kept saying I'm confident we'll get a deal done. And, I want to be a Steeler. I don't want to go nowhere else. I want to play football, so hopefully we get it done.
Wide receiver Jarvis Landry has been tagged by the Dolphins. Miami tweeted the announcement on Tuesday. The first day teams could get their franchise or transition tags, but I don't think anyone's going to pick him up on that offer.
No, they're not. Again, if he can go out and he can get an offer from another team, and if the Miami Dolphins don't match it, that team has to give the Dolphins 2 first-round picks. That's not happening.
We are back here on the Cover 2 podcast, final segment of the day, not live. I said live. I'm so used to saying that. From the Saddleback College Radio Labs, crammed in a small room, doing the podcast today. We are not live, so you'll only hear us on YouTube today. But we're gonna talk a little bit of NFL in this live segment, because why the hell not? NFL's cool. There's stuff going on, so we're gonna talk about it. There's not much other going on in the rest of sports. So, Jared, we want to talk about franchise tags today, because we're in the time period now where guys can get franchise tag. I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand what franchise tagging is and why people get franchise tags. So can you explain to the listener what the franchise tag is?
Yeah, right. So the franchise tag is basically a way for an NFL team to keep one of their players from negotiating and or leaving the team to go play somewhere else. Every year, all 32 teams get one franchise tag per year. So you only get one. And you don't have to use it. The goal is to not have to use that franchise tag. But if you come to a situation with a player, and for the most part, the franchise tag is really only used on star players that are, stars or superstars or guys coming out their rookie contracts that you really don't want to let go. So the point of the franchise tag is to keep that player and work out a long-term contract. So the franchise tag, it's by position. So if you're a quarterback like Kirk Cousins per se, how he got franchise tagged the last 2 years with the Washington Redskins, the NFL takes the top 5 contracts at that position, and they average out that money. And then that's what the team would end up paying that player for that 1 year. So for the team, the point is, listen, if we have to franchise tag this player, we'll put the tag on him. And then the team and the player have until July 15th to work out a long-term extension. So basically that would negate the franchise tag, and then that player would then be under that new long-term contract that they sign, whether it's 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. So really the franchise tag is just a way to extend time and to basically have a one-on-one negotiating on terms. If there's no franchise tag and a player has 0 years on their contract, they're considered a free agent, which means that player can go negotiate with all other 31 teams in the NFL. Obviously, if you have a superstar on your team, you don't want that player negotiating with other teams.
Yep.
You want to keep him for yourself. That's the point of the franchise tag. The way that the franchise tag can hurt you is if you are the Washington Redskins, a bunch of idiots, and you franchise tag Kirk Cousins
Bunch of idiots.
2 years in a row. How that hurt the Redskins was this. The first year when they franchise tagged Kirk Cousins, his money value was at about 20 or 21 million, which is actually average for the top NFL quarterbacks, what their average salaries are. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Westbrook, Joe Flacco.
If I had to ask you one question, I think, did you just add Russell Westbrook in that thing?
Oh, did I say Russell Westbrook?
Yeah.
I meant Russell Wilson. I'm sorry.
I was like, oh my God. I think Russell Westbrook.
Still thinking about a little basketball.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
It's too many Thunder questions.
Too many Thunder. I'm thinking about Russell Wilson. I'm sorry about that.
I forgot what I was going to say now because it threw me so off.
Yes.
I was going to ask you this comically. Would you say that Kirk Cousins is at the level of a Tom Brady?
Hell no. No, but like I said in the beginning, the Redskins are a bunch of idiots.
That's correct. You did preface the question with that.
Yes, I did. So they franchise tagged Kirk Cousins in 2016. They then again franchise tagged Kirk Cousins in 2017. Boom. And this time the franchise tag was at about, I believe it was like 24, 25 million.
Talking about last year?
Yes, last year.
I think it was like 26, 27.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. So either way, the Redskins in 2 years forked out almost $50 million to Kirk Cousins. Here's the problem with that. Kirk Cousins can potentially be a free agent this year, and they're more than likely going to lose him.
Oh, 100%
they're
losing
nothing.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
So instead, it's basically just like renting versus buying a house. When you rent something, your money basically goes nowhere. When you buy something, you build equity, right? Your money is you're growing your money. You're getting more of a return on your money. Obviously, Kirk Cousins played well enough that other teams want to sign him, and he did very well. But for the Redskins, they basically just wasted almost $50 million because they're not going to see a return on that.
No.
As most of you know, if you follow the NFL, they signed Alex Smith to a long-term extension.
Traded for that.
Traded, traded, and signed him to a long-term extension. So Alex Smith is going to be the Redskins quarterback. Kirk Cousins will not. The point of this is you have to be very strategic about using the franchise tag, because if you use it in the wrong way, you're going to basically waste away millions and millions of dollars that you will not be able to see again, nor will you get the return value that you should. One of the most recent players this year to get franchise tag was Jarvis Landry, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not sure about you, Nick, but there is no way in hell that I would pay Jarvis Landry $16 million a year. Would you?
No. I think Jarvis Landry's like top 20 receiver, but not top 5.
Yeah, Jarvis Landry is one of the better slot receivers in the league. He is not, in my opinion, a number 1 receiver. I would say he is a guy that you want the ball in his hands because he's very shifty. He makes a lot of guys miss, and he's an after-the-catch receiver.
He had a good year last year.
He does.
But not necessarily anything.
Not at all. But so I think we can both agree that he's not worth a $16 million paycheck. I didn't think so either. I think what the Miami Dolphins are trying to do, and this is what I mentioned at the very beginning of this segment, the Dolphins wanted to extend their time to try to work out a long-term contract with Jarvis Landry. So the Dolphins will have until July 15th to work out that long-term contract. If they do, then Landry will play under that contract. If they do not, then they will have to fork out $16+ million to Landry for this 1 year. It's not, like I said, it's not the best situation for either party. For that specific team, you don't want to fork out that much money. And for the player, listen, most people are going to say, wow, that's $16 million. Who's going to turn that down? It's not about turning down $16 million. It's about the security of knowing that, hey, the NFL obviously is a very physical sport.
Especially the
right?
NFL.
There's no doubt about that. These players want security in case they get injured. What happens if Jarvis Landry tears his ACL? What, you think that he would prefer to be under a 1-year contract?
Well, like, here's a good example, and this is kind of a morbid example, but we just talked about Shazier and do you care? Wouldn't he have liked to have a contract extension before what happened to him?
Of course, and he was still under his rookie contract.
Yeah, so Shazier is going to get screwed, and that might be one of the reasons why he wants to get back in football, because he didn't make that much money.
No. He was a first-round draft pick, and he made a good amount of money.
When I say that much money, he made millions of dollars, but not what he deserved. He was best linebacker in the league. I mean, one of the best. So he was going to get paid by the Steelers. But now, you see what happened to him? That could easily happen to Jarvis Landry next year.
Yeah,
and if he doesn't have a contract, it's just that $16 million, you're done.
He's out of that. He's going to get that $16 million, and then he's never going to see $16 million again in his life. So players, I think most players would agree that they would prefer to take a little less money. So for Jarvis Landry, instead of taking $16 million, maybe you take $11 million or $12 million per year.
Same thing.
But the contract is for 4 or 5 years, so you have that security of knowing, hey, if I get injured and it's a serious injury and I'm out for a year or a length of time, that I'm still going to be able to get paid and I'm still going to be able to support my family.
And you get that guaranteed money.
Right, and that's the big thing there. Talking about Ryan Shazier, another thing, and this is a little off topic as far as the franchise tag goes. NFL players have to play 4 NFL seasons in order to get health insurance. So I'm not sure if Shazier was at that. I think he'd only played for 3.
Well,
so I don't think he has health insurance with the NFL. And obviously, like I said, these guys are millionaires, and it's not that they can't pay their bills, but I think everyone would agree that these players also want that health insurance security, so they don't have to pay everything out of pocket. I think that's one thing that coming up in 2020 with the next collective bargaining agreement that the Players Association is going to want to take a look at and say, hey, listen, we want not only our veteran players, but we want our rookies to have health benefits as well, just in case they get injured. Listen, the lifespan of the average NFL player is 3 years. And
the career.
In a career,
yeah,
yes. Yeah. And the NFL says that you have to play 4 years to get health insurance. So
Shazier this was his 4th year. So
this was his 4th year.
Yeah. So
okay.
I believe he has.
So he
health
did.
insurance.
Okay. So thankfully for him, he did.
Yeah, exactly.
But for players,
he doesn't get the contract.
Right. So, but for players who don't play 4 years, or if you're not in that 4th year yet, you don't get health insurance. So another reason why most players would want a lengthier contract and maybe a little bit less money as opposed to taking a huge lump sum for 1 year.
No, it makes sense, and it in some ways it can work out. I believe the Cardinals, just speaking on personal experience in a way, the Cardinals franchise tagged Patrick Peterson before they signed him to what was the richest contract for a corner ever. So I believe they had franchise tagged him, made a deal with him, and they signed him. It was after his rookie deal. So that's the good way to do it. The bad way, like you mentioned, Kirk Cousins getting in. And if the Miami Dolphins screwed up too, it'd be a bad way too. So you really got to be smart with this stuff. But I think the main reason teams do this is to make sure, like you mentioned, that other teams can't jump in there. Because, if let's say Jarvis Landry was like, well, Miami didn't look that good, and they don't have much trust in me, but they're just trying to keep me because they know I'm good. I want to go talk to these other teams. Well, now he can't. So it's a good way. The NFL does. This is a very interesting thing the NFL does. I don't think there's anything like this in any other sport. So it's a cool little rule. Now there's 2 people I want to talk about. Number 1, Cousins. Number 2, Le'Veon Bell. Obviously, we think Le'Veon Bell should not get franchise tag and should get a full contract. But what do you think happens if he does get franchise tagged?
I think he's going to get franchise tagged. I think the Steelers are going to put that franchise tag on him as a security so he doesn't go and talk to other teams.
I got you.
And then, like I said, I think they're going to have that time period up until July 15th to try to work out that long-term deal. Listen, Le'Veon Bell is one of the special running backs in the league. And I mean special in the best way possible. He is not a player that you let go. Ben Roethlisberger probably only has a year or 2 left on his deal, or on his career. He's obviously up there in age. Whether they draft a quarterback or whether the Steelers in the next couple of years try to sign someone in free agency, you want to bring in someone that has weapons around him. Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell are the 2 best weapons that you can have at their respective positions.
Yeah.
So if you're the Steelers, you do whatever you have to do to keep Le'Veon Bell happy and keep him on your team. So if you have to franchise him and then work out a long-term deal, you do that. But if Le'Veon Bell gets away from the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a damn shame.
Would that be worse than Cousins?
And I don't see it happening because I don't think the Steelers are as dumb as the Redskins. But you never know. If they do not franchise tag Le'Veon Bell and he's able to go and freely talk to other teams, I guarantee you there will be other teams that throw a ludicrous amount of money at Le'Veon Bell, and it will be very, very hard for him not to accept an offer.
Speaking of ludicrous money, Jerry, why don't you tell the listener what the Jets said about Kirk Cousins?
The Jets. The New York Jets.
Not talking about the Winnipeg Jets, who are in first place in their division in hockey. We're talking about the New York Football Jets.
Yeah. They are supposedly ready to offer Kirk Cousins $60 million, wait for it, in his first year of the deal. Are you kidding? $60 million?
What the hell?
That is basically triple what any other quarterback is making today. Like we said, most quarterbacks are making between most elite star quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, like Tom Brady, like Ben Roethlisberger, right? are making between 20 and 25 million a year, and the Jets want to give Kirk Cousins, who has never won a Super Bowl and
barely been in the playoffs,
yeah. $60 million in the first year. I can't even fathom.
Here's the thing. So, my dad and I were talking about this once we heard about Garoppolo's contract, and I was saying, "Well, Dad, if we want Kirk Cousins as the quarterback for the Cardinals, we're probably gonna have to give him more."
Oh, easily.
Maybe we do the deal to where he gets guaranteed money, but maybe his contract is a little less in the beginning to help the Cardinals out. But we're gonna have to give him more over the life of the contract. And so we started discussing, and I was like, well, if Kirk Cousins is gonna get whatever, well, how much was Garoppolo? It was like $27 million or something like that, or was it more? Or was it less
per year?
Yeah,
I think it was 26. It was that around there. Right now, as of today, February 21st, 2018, on a Wednesday at 11:51 a.m. Jimmy Garoppolo is the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League.
Cousins is probably going to get around 30, right? Something like that per year?
If I'm his camp, I'm asking for that. I'm looking at Jimmy Garoppolo's contract and piggybacking off that.
Yeah, so not as much about his contract, but I go, man, if Kirk Cousins is going to get a deal, it's like $180 million or whatever. Don't we think that like Aaron Rodgers, when his contract comes up, should get like $1 billion total in his contract?
My next point.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson are sitting with the biggest smiles on their faces right now because guess what? Both of those players have won Super Bowl.
Jared,
so
what are they going to get?
But $500 million? No, I mean, okay, they're not. But like something ridiculous.
They're going to get paid.
Oh yeah. And if you couldn't hear that because Nick was covering his mouth. They're going to get paid.
Oh, they heard it.
No, they heard it. If Jimmy Garoppolo can get the highest contract in NFL history for starting 7 games.
Yeah.
7 games, regular season games.
Yeah.
Super Bowl winning quarterbacks Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are going to ask for a lot more. Here's the catch with that. Both of those players, along with a couple, Tom Brady and the other elite quarterbacks in the NFL, are worth every single penny of that money. But where does the line get drawn that players want the respect of having that contract, but they also don't want to take up all the money in the world that their teams can't go out and sign other top talent to come and play with them?
That's true. It's a good point, actually.
Tom Brady is one of those guys who understands this completely and has taken less money for the last 3 or 4 years in order to let the Patriots sign other top talent to come play around him. So I think it's that fine line. Like I said, if I'm Aaron Rodgers right now, I know that I am one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I want to be paid, and I want the respect, and I want that major contract. But I also want other good players around me because, listen, you can't do it by yourself. I don't care who you are. You need other good talent around you. So I think some of these stars and these athletes need to also, sit down and think about how much money they really want, how much guaranteed money they really want, and, how much they're willing to give up to let their team go out and sign other players to help them win championships. Because, listen, these guys can make all the money in the world, and that's fantastic. But if you're a true pro, at the end of the day, when your career's over, you're going to be remembered by the championships that you won, not by the money that you made.
Yeah.
Cousins. So go ahead, make $500 million a year with a 5-year contract, right? A year, whatever. But you're probably not going to win anything because you're not going to have any other good talent around you. So I would take less money, and when I say less money, I say $18 to $20 million a year. Boo-hoo. To let my team go and bring other top
maybe
talent.
more of it's guaranteed. That's what these guys. I think we're gonna actually probably start turning toward. Because you're right. I mean, Russell Wilson can't be taking up $50 million of the cap in Seattle.
And I don't think he's the type of guy that would do that.
No, he wouldn't. But I think you give him, hey, we'll give you 20, 25, right? Like a normal quarterback. We'll just keep you at where you're at, and. But we'll give you most of it guaranteed. Like most, I'm talking about like 80, 85% of it is guaranteed, But you need to take less. So we'll give you pretty much all of it. We're not going to cut you or whatever, all that stuff. But you do need to take less. So you make a good point there that I didn't really think of. In the first place, I didn't think of their teammates. I just thought of them.
Selfish, Nick.
But yes, Olivia Munn, you need to get back with Aaron Rodgers quick because he's about to make a lot of money.
Oh, boy.
A lot of money.
Oh, boy.
So anything else we want to talk about as far as the NFL goes?
One more. So where do you think Kirk Cousins ends up?
Well,
He ain't going to the Redskins.
You know where I hope he ends up? He ends up in Arizona.
Okay.
Because Arizona doesn't have a quarterback right now. Where I expect him to, that's a hard question. There's so many teams that go. If I had to make a bet, I'd go Denver.
Did you read my mind?
You're gonna say Denver?
I was gonna say Denver.
You're gonna say Denver too?
Denver has a great defense.
Yeah.
They still have Demaryius Thomas. They're more than likely going to have to get rid of Emmanuel Sanders in order to create that cap room to sign a elite quarterback like a Kirk Cousins and give him that money. They're going to more than likely release Aqib Talib. So the team's going to look a little different, but they still have Von Miller.
Snatched.
They still have their top talent. If I'm Kirk Cousins, Denver would be on the top of my list as far as being able to win right now.
Yeah.
They may not be able to offer him as much money as the Jets or the Browns, but if Kirk Cousins is trying to win, I'm going Denver is probably my first choice.
What's interesting, the two things you just mentioned right there are the Cardinals actually have those two things too. So I actually do think the Cardinals have a better chance than a lot of people think at signing him. But if I had to bet, I'd go Broncos.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah, I think Arizona's up there as well.
Sorry, still coughing the whole podcast. But so let's go to our final thoughts on the day. And Jerry, I'll let you go first. While
my final thought is actually something that just popped up on my phone a few minutes ago.
Okay.
And this is very interesting. And Nick, I know you're going to have a say in this. So this could be a combined final
We might have to do that, yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Major League Baseball to allow any player to bat in the ninth inning if you're losing? Let me elaborate.
Wait.
There's not a proposal because this isn't on the table. This is a thought that some media are thinking the MLB might propose in the next couple years, that if a team is down, you're losing in the ninth inning, that team, when you come up to bat, would be able to choose any player on their roster to come up to bat. The argument is in the NFL and let's say for basketball in a sense, there's 5 seconds left in the game. Is LeBron James sitting on the bench? Or is he in the game?
No.
He's in the game.
He's in the game.
If you're down, 3 points and you need to score a touchdown, if you're the New England Patriots and you've got the ball with a minute left, is Tom Brady sitting on the sidelines or is he in the game?
He's in the game.
He's in the game.
Yeah.
Some of these people in the Major League Baseball circle think that in the ninth inning, if a team is down, they should, the losing team should be able to have their best players up to bat to try to win.
Very.
The Angels are down in the ninth, and Mike Trout just hit in the eighth. It's technically not his turn. Mike Scioscia can go out and say, I want Mike Trout coming up to bat.
So this isn't like a situation where it's like the shootout rule in the Olympics where like you just keep batting Mike Trout.
No. This is just in the ninth inning only. If you are losing, you can the manager can basically pick his own three-man lineup or his 3-man hitting
That
team.
is nuts. My take on it is I don't necessarily like it because I think it changes the game so much that I don't necessarily know if it'd be good for there'd be guys getting more at bats, and obviously I don't know. I think that would change the game too much. Although it'd be very interesting.
Very interesting.
For people who have two different teams that have a lot of stars on these teams, and the Dodgers and Angels. Hell yeah.
I'm still trying to process this because, like I said, I literally just saw this on my phone 5
so
minutes ago.
I also think this is more of a writers or a media thing coming out of this. But it's interesting, and here's what I'd rather see. I'd rather see them put a guy on second base to start the inning than have whoever they want bat.
And in the ninth inning, or if the game went into extra innings?
In the ninth. Well, we'll go ninth. We're talking about the ninth.
Okay.
Yeah, if they wanted to make a change in the ninth, I think the furthest you'd go is to do the man on second because that worked for the World Baseball Classic, and it does make sense. Although it would be kind of an unfair advantage to the team that was just pitching and was winning the whole game. So maybe you would just do it in the 10th. I think that is a lot more feasible than just putting up Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and possibly Shohei Ohtani in a row.
It would be interesting to say. That would be wow.
Change the game for sure.
Oh yeah, if you're the Yankees and you're losing the game in the ninth,
that's a good example.
And Aaron Boone goes, "Hey, I'm putting Stanton and Judge You know, and
Yeah.
I mean,
And then Gary Sanchez.
yeah, and then Gary Sanchez. Like, wow, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's
that would be
hell of a lineup and a crazy rule.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd be like putting like NFL players on like the 25-yard line to start drives.
I know, right?
You know what I'm saying?
But
that's why it's comparable. Would you necessarily want, if you're a Cowboys fan, if you're up by 7, let's say, and they go, okay, well, because of this new rule, since they're losing with under a minute left, we're going to put them on the 50.
No.
To start. Of course not, right? So that's kind of what this is with baseball. You wouldn't necessarily want the opposing team getting, I
think that is going to more of what you were talking about putting a guy on second base. This
Yeah.
isn't about, like, positioning a guy to a certain spot on the field. This is just about having the best players with an opportunity to do something on the field, to make a play.
But you do make a good point. Tom Brady's on the field in the final drive. LeBron James is on the court. When they pull the goalie in hockey, it's all the star players on. It's not scraps. So that's the one thing baseball doesn't have. But I think just the way that game is played, it'd be tough to do that. Where you just kind of were star-studded. Now, see, would it extend to the 10th, too? Like, the 10th? Oh, Trout's coming up again.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Trout's having 8 at-bats in the game.
Right.
It'd be crazy, like, the stats in that. People get like 700 at-bats for the first time ever,
Very interesting.
Very interesting. We'll see if that extends, but I'm glad that came up on your phone while we were still recording.
Yeah.
Because we're
I
not
figured
doing it live
you would
today.
have a very little interest in that one.
Yeah, totally. But I'll stick with that with my final thoughts.
Yeah, I thought that would be
I didn't have
final
much
thought.
To say anyways. I was still thinking of it. But yes, that's the end of the podcast. Obviously, we weren't live today on OC Rock Radio, but we will be posted on YouTube. For Nick Neenan,
I'm Jared Smith,
and this has been the Cover 2 Podcast.